Welcome to my video on inverses. Please take out a sheet of paper and a pencil and take some notes. These notes are part of your homework. I expect that you will be taking notes and bringing them in. I will be checking them along with the rest of your homework. First thing we're going to look at is some definitions. What's the reciprocal or inverse of a number? Well, quite simply, it's just when we exchange the numerator and denominator. So in a quick little example there, we've got 2/3. The reciprocal of that is 3/2. That's the reciprocal or inverse of a number. Another definition we want to take a peek at is the opposite of a number. The opposite of a number. And that's when we change the sign from positive to negative or negative to positive. An example of that, if we have negative 2/3, the opposite would be positive 2/3. The reason why we're looking at these definitions is because sometimes they're confused for each other. The reciprocal, inverse, and opposite have some different meanings, so we need to keep them straight. All right. So now we're going to look at the inverse of a function, which is very different than from the inverse of a number. The inverse of a function is not exchanging numerator and denominator. What I want you to do is look at the example below and see if you can write your own definition for what the inverse of a function is. Please go ahead and hit pause and come up with a definition. Welcome back. I hope that you saw that the point 2, 3 became 3, 2 for the inverse, and you just realized that the definition of an inverse is just when we exchange the independent variable, or the x values, with the dependent variable, the y values. All right, let's put this into use. So we're going to look at an example here. They want us to find the inverse of the following relation. And then they want us to state whether the new relation is a function. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what's a function? A function is, for every x value, there's at most one y value. So please keep that in mind as you're going through this problem. I will give you a second here to try this on your own. Please hit pause and do that now. Welcome back. So the inverse, hopefully you just took the points and you exchanged the x and y values. There's my answer. If you notice, though, I didn't write f of x equals. I wrote f, and then it looks like there's this -1 as an exponent. That is actually the designation for the inverse of f of x. So please, from now on, whenever you give the inverse, please put that notation, that -1. All right. Moving on, let's talk about whether or not it's a function. Well, I hope you said no. If you look, you see 2 is matched up with -3 and 2 is matched up with 4. So in this case, the inverse is not a function. Moving on, we're going to look at one more example. I want you to try and find the inverse of the following function. And I want you to keep in mind you must go back and solve for y when you're done. I'll give you a minute here to try this on your own. Please hit pause and try it on your own. All right, welcome back, welcome back. I'm going to work through this one with you. Again, our definition of an inverse is exchanging the x and the y. So I'm going to do that right now. And the direction said we need to go back and solve for y. You always want to do that when you're finding the inverse. So I will subtract 6 from both sides. And then we'll divide both sides by 3. And again, we talked about when we find the inverse, we want to show that with notation. So I will put our notation there for the inverse. And there's our inverse. Hopefully you enjoyed watching the video, and I hope it helped. Please complete the homework that is on the website. It is called Inverse Homework.